All right, I'm going to tell you guys how to be insane, okay? If you're a high rank player, this probably isn't going to matter too much to you because you're probably already doing these things. But if you're a lower rank player, this is what I noticed so much when I was playing on my Smurf. And I believe this is some of the issue that is created where players feel like somebody on the enemy team is just outrageously good and they're like, wow, they never miss a shot or anything. Obviously, every now and then there's going to be those people who are actually just Smurfs and they're actually just insane. But for the most part, I think this is the issue that a lot of players are running into. And this is why I wanted to talk about it. And to preface this issue, I'm going to actually show you 4 clips. I want you to tell me what they all have in common. We're going to start out with this one right here. This was taken from my stream a little bit while back.
Headshot. Smoking it as well.
Okay, next clip. This is going to be awkward. I didn't buy anything. I bet he's here. I bet he's right here, though. We've got one more right here.
Dude, are you hacking?
And then here's our last clip.
Walk it off, G.
Now, I asked you what all of those clips have in common for a reason. And it wasn't that I was just killing people through smokes and like they had no chance at it. The reason that I showed you those clips is because those were all clips where I was pre-firing pretty common locations that an enemy might play. And we've actually done a video on pre-firing in the past if you wanted to watch it, where we kind of just break it down a little bit. But that's not what I wanted to talk about here. What I wanted to talk about here is the reason that I think a lot of players see these players in their games and they feel like these players are just worlds better than them. They feel like they're nuts and they have no chance versus these players. The reason you'd be on the receiving end of one of these plays is because you played a very obvious angle, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I loaded into split for one of those shots right here just to showcase the very last shot where I actually just walked up right here and I just shot through this wall. And where this is going to wallbang is it's going to wallbang any target who's playing right here. If you are playing this position and I shoot through this wall, this is going to hit you and this is probably going to kill you as it did in this situation. This is a very common angle, and of course you're not going to get wall banged there every single time that you're playing it, but when I'm coming around this corner, this is where I'm pre-aiming. This is the spot I'm going to be looking at. And so if you're playing a position like this, when somebody swings around the corner, sure, you're going to have your crosshair right here, but they're going to have their crosshair on you. And in this situation where you feel like somebody's nuts or they're just a lot better you, realistically what's happening is they're probably only just a little bit better than you, but that little bit is making a big difference when you're playing locations that they're expecting you to be at. Again, going to the position where I actually shot Lucas through this smoke right here. I didn't do anything crazy. It wasn't just like a lucky shot. Of course, there was a little bit of luck that played into it. But I was firing at a very common location that a player would be. I was holding this angle down, and I was aiming right here through the smoke. When I fired, if any player is playing this position, that player is going to die to that shot. In our pre-firing guide that we did, we talked a lot about just pre-firing different corners where you think a player might be, or just pre-aiming these corners. So for example, if I thought somebody was going to be playing in this corner, like right here, what I would do when I come around the corner is I would fire right here. I would pre-aim it, and then when I would come around the corner, I would just anticipate firing. And if there was a target playing there, that target would be dead because I was already planning to shoot before I came around the corner. I don't have to evaluate whether or not the target's there in my head. Oh, when I come around the corner, that is my plan. And that explains the 2 kills that I got through the smokes when those players were just hiding deep in the corner. This is why oftentimes you'll see a player in professional games, rather than hiding deep in this corner like this, especially when an enemy knows that they're there, what they'll do is they'll cheat out just a little bit. They'll play like this. So that way, when the player comes around the corner, rather than getting pre-fired like that, the player has to adjust their crosshair when they see this player to actually shoot them. I loaded into split because this is a very common angle that I'll see players play, and this is why I feel like a lot of players actually struggle on split to hold mid. It's because they hold angles like this, or they'll hold an angle like this, or they'll hold an angle like this in vents, and when players come around these corners, this is exactly where they're aiming. And for the sake of this discussion, we'll throw Peeker's advantage out the window, and we'll just say, even if the enemy player has just a little bit faster of a reaction time than you, they're going to win this encounter. It doesn't matter if you're aiming there or not. And then when you combine this with Peeker's advantage, this player is just going to see you before you see them. Now, this doesn't mean that every single time you're playing an angle that you should be in some weird off angle like this. And it also doesn't mean that you can never play this spot, right? There are situations in which you can play this spot and which it'll be okay. But if you do it every single round, that's going to be where I start pre-firing or where I'm pre-aiming, and you're going to get killed pretty much every round. I'm not sure if I talked about it in a video yet recently, but basically most of this game is just crosshair placement. Everyone spends all this time doing grid shot, especially at lower ranks where they're like, oh, what's your max grid shot score? But realistically speaking, most of your aim is going to come from where you are placing your crosshair preemptively. That's how you're going to land most of your shots. And you have to keep in mind, a lot of these players, they know about crosshair placement and they work on their crosshair placement, or they might even convince themselves that they have good crosshair placement. But the problem is, while you are focusing on your crosshair placement, the enemy is doing the exact same thing. And this is why when you play those predictable positions, you're going to get owned. Another example of a very common spot is going to be over here on A. If you play this position at the beginning of the round, this is going to be the first position I'm going to aim at. Similarly to like right here, right? This is the spot that I first check when I'm coming around this corner. As I'm coming around, I aim right here. I make sure nobody's pushing this. And then I aim up here. And now I'm going to check this corner. All of these spots can be utilized, but it really has to be at the right time, and it has to be selectively. This is why a lot of the times on stream, you'll see me playing angles like this right here. I'll jump on top of this box, and I'll hold this angle, rather than holding something like this, where I'm just on the ground level. Because when a player comes to clear this, what are they going to do? They're going to approach right here. They're going to have their crosshair like right here. And if I'm on top of the box, for them to headshot me, they have to flick up like right there, right? That's going to be a hard flick. Whereas I'm sitting on top of this box, I already have the advantage because I'm aiming like right here where their head's going to be, and I'm able to take them out pretty easily. Similarly, what you'll see me do is rather than holding an angle like this, where they'll see me as they're coming onto site and we'll have an engagement right there, I want them to like kind of walk into me. I want it to be unexpected. So what I'll do rather than holding this is I'll hold something like this. If I know they're pushing site, this oftentimes will catch a player off guard. Because what are they going to clear as they're walking on? I'm going to look right here, and then I have to pay attention to right here. Is anybody right there? Is anybody up here? I'm going to clear this, but as I'm coming around, this player is going to catch me off because I would have expected them to be like right here holding this, right? But instead, they're playing back a little bit and they're holding like that. Similarly on blue, rather than playing something like this, what I'll do is I'll play something like this. It gives them a little bit more territory, but it's going to make it more likely that you're going to win your gunfight a lot of the times. Especially when you're playing against players that are better than you. And that's what I really want to emphasize here. If you feel like these players are just better shots than you, stop challenging common angles. Especially on defense. You get to choose where the encounters happen. Make them play in your court. Like I said, I noticed this the most when I was playing on a Smurf account and like unrated. And it's just like, it's really hard to see. You need to stop playing all these common angles and just being so predictable a lot of the times. I feel like one of my greatest strengths as a player is just being unpredictable. You never know exactly what I'm going to do. This is why I particularly excel in these clutch situations where I'm like 1v1. I'm very good at just outsmarting the enemy. I'm very good at knowing what I think I'm going to do and doing the exact opposite from that. This is what gets me most of my kills. I'm not a phenomenal shot. I'm really not. If you've seen it on my stream, there's so many times I'm just complaining about how bad my aim is. But what I do is I just play very intelligently. I play smart angles. I set up crossfires with my teammates. I set up good tripwires as Cypher, who I've been playing a lot of. I utilize my utility well throughout the game. This is how I get most of my kills. It's not just from running onto site and out fragging these guys. You play smarter, not harder. The reason I thought of this discussion is because this last clip right here where I pre-fired this guy, somebody asked me in chat, they were like, hey, like, how did you know he was there? Like, well, what did you do there? Like, why did you get that kill? Why did you pre-fire that? How did you know to pre-fire that? A lot of it just comes from game sense, right? These guys we were playing against were playing incredibly aggressively. They've been pushing up mid a lot. I figured they'd probably be holding an angle like this, or that it was possible, right? So that's why I pre-fired it. It wasn't really any crazy big brain play. It was just, hey, these guys are playing pretty aggressive. They're playing pretty stupid. Let's just try our luck at these pre-fires. And immediately, actually, what you're going to see after this play is I'm actually going to peek a jet with an operator and vents. And notice my pre-aim is actually just a little bit off. Otherwise, I would have killed her as well, right? She's playing on the back wall. I was expecting her to be a little bit closer to the doorway. And I end up just being a little bit too high. She ends up taking me out with the operator. But I could have easily won this fight right there if I had dinked that jet. That could have easily gone in my favor. And it all just had to do with where I was aiming or where I was expecting the enemies, right? I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just pre-aiming common locations. Now, I do feel like I need to throw a little bit of a disclaimer on this right now because I feel like some players are going to hear this and they're going to start playing angles like this. You want to be very careful about the position that you're playing, obviously. If somebody can peek you from right here and somebody can peek you from right here, it's probably not a very good idea for you to stand in the middle of nowhere just for the purpose of playing an off angle. Something that you're very susceptible to when you're playing a position like this, obviously, too, is going to be like flashbangs or like any sort of utility that can clear you out right here, maybe a boombot or a drone or something. You don't want to just be standing in the middle of nowhere. You want to be a little bit more methodical with your positioning. That being said, get creative with it. The cool thing about competitive games like this is that you can just play match after match after match and you can learn. That's where game sense comes from. Game sense comes from playing the game and looking at what your enemies do and remembering that for the next time that you're in a situation. Maybe you're against a different enemy, but maybe they play pretty similar to how you've seen past people, because generally people play around the same way because of meta forms, right? And they think the same way. And you're going to be able to capitalize on that, which is going to help you out a lot in the future. Anyway, though, basically, this is my guide on how to climb. If you feel like you're getting out-aimed, if you feel like these players are just way better than you, or if you feel like your aim's just slacking a little bit, the best advice I can give to these players is just play more creative angles. There's going to be times that you find an angle that you feel like is cheap, right? Players are just not going to anticipate it, and you're going to get kills doing it, and you're probably going to do it more in the future, and you're going to feel like, damn, this is a good spot. I'm going to continue to use this. And that's when you know that you're just outsmarting players. You're not out aiming them. You're not making it too hard on yourself. You're playing intelligently, and it's helping you get wins. Here's a fun angle I've been holding recently. I'll hold like an angle like this, and when players come around, you can get a pretty easy twin tap, especially if they're lurking. If you know a player's lurking, or if you think a player's lurking, and they're coming up right here, and I might check a position like this. Maybe I'm looking long or something as I'm approaching, maybe getting ready to pre-aim CT. Oh, there's a guy right here. You get shot like right here, dude. It's so unexpected, dude. You catch people off guard here all the time. I actually really love this angle. I'm gonna continue to play this, so you could steal this one if you're playing it in your games. Obviously, that's a pretty tight angle, so if somebody full swings you, you might not be able to land the shot. But a lot of the times, what I'll see is people just kind of like walk out like this, especially if like having smoke or something as I'm approaching. Check this position. Okay, where are we looking? Okay, CT. Gotta clear this out maybe, but no, there's a guy playing right here. Anyway, though, I hope this was beneficial. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Really does help us out. Check us out on Twitch, where we stream pretty frequently. I'm going to be playing some World of Warcraft recently. Obviously, I play Valorant a lot on stream, but the new Shadowlands just came out, and I'm actually really excited for that. So if you guys like WoW, or if you like Shadowlands, feel free to join our server. We're going to be playing on Senjin. I'm going to be playing Alliance. That might not mean anything to you if you're just a Valorant guy, but other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.